Hello and welcome to today's class. This is Ramakant Mahananda, teacher English Kendriya Vidyalaya Barkoi. Dear students, today I am going to teach you a poem titled A Tiger in the Zoo. The poem has been taken from your NCERT textbook First Flight. In today's discussion, we will discuss about the poet, the theme of the poem, the explanations of the stanza, and the poetic devices that has been applied by the poet here. Apart from that, I'll also provide you a file containing some questions for better understanding and appreciation of the text. So dear children, it's a request to you, don't forget to watch the video till the end and to like, share and subscribe to it. So without any delay, let's get started. I would like to recite the poem for you. He stalks in his vivid stripes, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass, near the water hole where the plump deer fast. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, behind, bearing his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. But he is locked in a concrete cell. His strength is behind the bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He hears the lost boys at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Dear students, at first we will try to know about the poem. This particular poem has been written by a Welsh poet, very well renowned, Leslie Norris. The poet Leslie Norris is a renowned and award-winning poet from Wales. He was also a short story writer. Norris, by profession, was a lecturer, a teacher, and headmaster. But after a few years of doing this job, he left the teaching profession and dedicated his entire life to become a full-time writer. He is always considered to be a great post-war writer. Now, let us move into the poem and know about the theme of this. As far as the theme is concerned, in this particular poem, Leslie Norris has tried to depict the emotions of a tiger in two contrasting situations. The two contrasting situations have been beautifully presented by the poet in the poem. While going through the poem and while explaining the poem, I will tell you what are the two contrasting situations that has been applied by the poet here. But for now, let us just know that this poem is about two contrasting situations of a tiger. The poet has beautifully described the restlessness of a wild tiger behind the bars. Here, behind the bars refers to the small concrete cell in a zoo. The poem makes us think about such practices that brings the animals behind bars. The poet, through this particular poem, he addresses the humanity and he also criticizes the practices that human beings have developed for their entertainment. So, let us move into the poem. First of all, I will explain to you the stanza 1 and 2. Let us go to stanza number 1. What do we get to know from it? What does the poet want to tell us through this particular stanza? He stalks in his vivid stripes, the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. Dear children, as you look into the particular stanza, there you find certain new words. You might encounter them. I would recommend you to kindly refer to a dictionary if you have. Stalks. Let me just tell you in brief what's the meaning of stalk. Stalk means walking slowly or walking very restlessly in a small cell. Stripes, I know you know the meaning of stripes. It's a color bands, okay, and you can find the black stripes on the massive body of the tiger. On pads of velvet quiet. This is a metaphor that has been applied by the poet here. The pad or the sole or the feet of the tiger has been compared to be made of velvet, whereas it is not. Okay, so this is a beautiful metaphor that the poet has applied here. Let us try to understand what is the gist of this particular stanza. What does the poet actually wants to convey us? In the very first stanza, the poet describes the restlessness of the tiger. Imprisoned in a cage, his limited movement is accompanied by the anger. His disappointment is clearly seen when he stalks the length of the cage. Although he is angry, but his moves is quite smooth, as if he is thinking of a plan to come out of it. So, my dear children, if you deeply analyze this particular stanza, then you can understand the feelings of the tiger. When we are in a trouble, when we get restless, then what we do, we usually walk short distances, again come back, again move, again come back, and again move. So this kind of restlessness can be seen in this particular poem, and the poet has beautifully written it. And why this particular tiger is getting restless and why he is disappointed, that is the reason. In the beginning, I had told you that the poet has tried to contrast the poem into different situations. So this is the first situation that has been put before you. So what is the first situation? The first situation is that there is a tiger which is inside a small cell in a zoo. It has been imprisoned. It has been confined to the four walls of a zoo. And that is the reason of his disappointment. That is the reason of his restlessness. And he is very angry. He's trying to show his anger, but in a different way. The poet has written in the fourth line of the first stanza, the poet has written, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. Rage means anger. Can anger be shown very quietly? Of course not. So this is another contrasting situation that the poet has created here. Very beautifully he has created. Whenever we are angry, we can never be quiet. We shout. We increase our volume of speaking. Okay, so from that point of view, it is another metaphor that the poet has applied in this particular line. So my dear children, he has no other way. He himself cannot break the iron rods and come out of it. That is why he is simply showing his anger by stalking inside the cell, by walking short distances or the short lengths inside the small cell. Now, let us come to stanza number 2. He should be lurking in the shadow, sliding through the long grass, near the water hole where the plump deer pass. What do we understand from this particular poem? Dear children, in this particular stanza, the poet has given before you the second situation. In the first situation, the tiger was inside a cell. It was inside the zoo. But now, he is presenting to you a tiger who is in an open field where it should be, where it must live. But unfortunately, it has been confined to the four walls of the concrete cell. Now let us see what does the poet feel about it. According to the poet, he should be lurking in the shadow. Lurking means, my dear children, you might have searched the meaning of this particular word. Lurking means hiding. But it arises a question. Why would a tiger hide? The tiger is the majestic beast in the jungle. It is not afraid of any other beast. It is not afraid of any other animal. Then why should it hide? The thing is that you get the answer near the water hole where the plump deer pass. Wow, this is really wonderful. The poet writes that the tiger belongs to the jungle. Its natural habitat has a lot more things to give it, and where it can have fun, it can have enough food for itself without being worried, without entertaining the human beings, without being worried about the trainers and the other officials of the zoo. So here, if we try to analyze this poem, then we find that the poet here writes where this majestic animal should actually be by presenting a contrasting situations of that in stanza 1. So stanza 1 and stanza 2 present before you two different situations. In stanza number 1, the poet has written that the tiger is confined inside a prison, is inside a jail, is inside a small cell in the zoo. Whereas in the second stanza, he presents to you that the tiger is in a jungle and how he behaves when he is free, when he has his liberty and his freedom in his hand, how he behaves. The poet says the tiger should be in the deep forest waiting for his prey. What would be the prey? Obviously, the herbivores, the deers. The deers are the easy target. It makes a good meal even, isn't it? And that's also a plump deer. What do you mean by plump? Plump is healthy, round body, stout body, full of flesh, full of meat. Means if you kill one, you can easily have your meal for the next 2 or 3 days. So that is called a plump deer. Okay? So the poet says the tiger should be in the deep forest, waiting and hiding for his prey near a pool of water. The poet shows his empathy for the tiger in the cage. It sounds very compassionate and naturalistic. Okay? You must be also feeling very bad for the tiger which has been kept inside the zoo. Okay? Now let us move to the next stanza. In the third stanza, it is written, he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, bearing his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Let us discuss about the difficult words first. Here you find a new word, snarling. What is the meaning of snarling? The meaning of snarling means, to make a growling sound, a roaring sound, and a terrorizing or creating fear among the villagers. And that is what the tigers and the lions love to do. They are undoubtedly the majestic animal, the most powerful of all beasts, and that is why they deserve it too. How do they terrorize the people of the village? The villagers who are living by the edge of the forest. Sometimes the tiger would give a roar in the forest and it would terrorize it. Sometimes it would come and sit just near the village and show its white fangs and his claws. When it shows its white fangs and his claws, obviously even the mightiest of the man also would get afraid of it. Okay? So now let us see what does it mean actually. According to the poet further adds how the tiger would be enjoying his freedom in the forest. Why do the tigers do like that? Why do tigers terrorize the villagers? Do they want to kill them? No, they never want to. They have enough food to collect from the forest. It is simply that they love to do. It is simply because they get some entertainment out of it. The poet describes that the tiger would have created terror among the villagers living on the edge of the forest. He could have established his terror by showing his sharp fangs and powerful claws to them. These thoughts must be disturbing and making him restless inside the zoo. Yeah. So, when you think about your past, suppose you had a glorious past and now you are passing through the bad time of your life. You have a toughest time in your life. And how do you feel when you just look back and think about your past? You go nostalgic. Sometimes you feel very depressed. Sometimes you feel very, very disappointed. And I think when these thoughts comes to the mind of the tiger, he gets restless. He gets disappointed. And that is why he stalks the short length of the concrete cell. Now, let's move to stanza number 4. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now, let us see what the poet wants to tell you here. The poet wants to say that his strength behind the bars. What does the word strength means? Here, the word strength refers to the mighty beast, the tiger. The tiger is behind the bars. It is inside the prison. It is inside a small concrete cell. It has no freedom to move out. It cannot enjoy its freedom at all. It can't terrorize the people and have some entertainment. It can't even chase and catch a plump deer. That is why he seems to be disturbed, distressed, and to show his disapproval, to show his disappointment, he simply ignores the visitors who come to pay a visit to this majestic animal. Perhaps due to these disturbing thoughts and forceful imprisonment, he shows disappointment by ignoring the visitors who come to take a view of the mighty beast. He is helpless. He is unable to help himself. As a result of that, he moves silently across the walkable length of the concrete cell. This is a kind of non-cooperation movement, I think. Okay, the tiger has been kept inside the small cell so that the people who would visit would have some entertainment, would capture a snap of it, and they would proudly share in the internet, or they would proudly share with their friends and family. But what about the tiger? He doesn't like the way the people behave to him. That is why he is showing his disapproval and does not entertain the visitors, does not come before them. Simply, he sits in a corner lazily and spends his entire day. Now, let us come to the last stanza of the poem. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Here, my dear children, the poet has tried to explain to you how the day of the tiger spends inside the zoo. Does it really enjoy the time inside the jail? Does it really enjoy the entire day with the visitors? This has been beautifully written here. The poet writes that, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Here 2 times the word brilliant has been used. But do you think brilliant refers to the same meaning in the 2 cases here? Not obviously. In the first case, if we try to analyze it, we'll find that, and stares with his brilliant eyes. His eyes cannot be brilliant, my child. It is full of sadness. It is full of disappointment. It is full of restlessness. So it cannot be brilliant. So it is another contrasting feature that is found in the particular poem. By using a particular word in 2 different situations, in 2 contrasting situations, the poet has tried to create a depth in the poem, has tried to give a strong feelings to the poem. At the brilliant stars. Brilliant stars here refers to the twinkling stars, the tiny twinkling stars in the sky. Now, the poet says, the poet describes how the mighty beast spent a day. His daytime is spent in stalking and ignoring the visitors. During the daytime, he does not entertain anyone. He simply stalks the length of the small case, and sometimes he ignores the visitors even. As night arrives, his solidarity and displeasure can be clearly seen in him. During the daytime, at least, he finds some people around him, and I think he gathers courage and little bit of entertainment for himself, even in disparity. But what about at night? As the night arrives, it brings solidarity for him. There is no one around him. Everybody is locked inside their own cell. The human visitors have gone back to their houses. There is no one to even talk to this mighty, majestic animal. The last thing that he hears every day is the sound of the patrolling cars. Yes, dear, every day at night the patrolling car comes and makes sure that the animals are in good position. They are safe and sound. So this is the last sound that he hears every day. And after that, the darkness surrounds him. He spends his entire night looking at the bright stars, looking at the twinkling stars, with an eye full of sorrow, with an eye full of sadness, with an eye full of disappointment. But he has no other way to come out of it. So, in this way, the poem has beautifully presented two different contrasting situations of the tiger. Now, let us try to understand what are the poetic devices or the literary devices that we find in this particular poem. The poet has applied many literary devices very cleverly, but I would discuss about few of them only. First of all, the poem has a rhyme scheme of A, B, C, B. In every stanza, you would find that the second line rhymes with the fourth line. So here we can see that the rhyme scheme of in every stanza is A, B, C, B, and this rhyme makes the poem more interesting. The second one that we find is personification. The, the poet in this particular poem has used a pronoun he. He should be lurking in the forest. Here he refers to not a human being, but it refers to the tiger in the poem. So here the poet has given a human-like characteristic to the tiger. That is why it is the personification of the tiger. Next is assonance. I think you all know about assonance. Assonance is the repetition of a particular vowel in a line or a stanza, like in his vivid stripes. If you look into this particular phrase, in his vivid stripes, here you find that the letter I has been repeated 4 times, and this has been done only to produce a depth or effect. A strong effect has been produced with this. So this is called assonance in literary device. Next we encounter metaphor also. While explaining to you the first stanza of the poem, there I have discussed this one, that the poet has beautifully used a metaphor. And what's the metaphor here? On his velvet pads. The pads or the sole, the feet of the tiger is not made of velvet. But here the poet refers that on his velvet pads. Now come to consonance. What is consonance? It is just the opposite of assonance. Means it is the repetition of a consonant sound. And what is the repetition of consonant sound that we find here? In many cases here in the poem we find it, but the one that I have taken is and stares with his brilliant eyes. Here you can see that the letter S has been repeated many times. The letter S has been repeated many times. In stares it has been used 2 times. In his it is written 1 time, and in eyes it is again used. So in this way, it has been used almost 4 times in this particular phrase or in this particular line. So this is called consonance. So this is another literary device that has been cleverly used by the poet to create a great effect in the poem. Next is repetition of some words. Some words have been repeated knowingly by the poet to present two contrasting situations and produce a strong effect of that. Like during the discussion of the last stanza, I told you that brilliant stars, brilliant eyes. But here the word brilliant refers to two different and contrasting meaning in both the contexts. Brilliant stars refers to the twinkling and the dazzling stars in the sky, whereas brilliant eyes refers to the eyes filled with tears, the eyes filled with sorrow, the eyes filled with sadness. Okay, so in this way, the poet has beautifully used various literary devices. Dear students, with this we have come to the end of this particular discussion. For more videos of class 10th English, do not forget to visit kvsrojabalpur.in. There a lot many videos of mine have been uploaded. Please do watch it, like and share it. Thank you.